Dark podcast.
That's right.
Exactly.
He's the only one that matters. He's the only member of your audience that matters.
Exactly. I mean, is that wrong?
Yes.
Clearly not.
It is completely wrong. Anyway.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Anime Club After Dark, the podcast that delves into all things anime, manga, and otaku culture related. I'm your host, Alex, but you can call me Senpai, and joining me tonight, we have our czar of source material, John.
I didn't want to be here today. My girlfriend didn't try hard enough to get me out of this recording.
I don't know. I was listening to her before we started, and it sounded like she wanted you to leave.
She couldn't handle the guilt of making me back out, even though I wanted her to make me back out. She fucked up the dream, man.
Done fucked it up. You done goofed. You done
fucked up, Aaron.
And we also have our Chivalry of Shota Shotaro.
I'm totally not grinding on Guild Wars 2 right now. It's not what
Bitch,
I'm doing.
you bitch.
You have my full undivided attention. What are we talking about?
Yeah. I feel like that's a lie.
I would never lie.
Oh, man. But before we get into our topic tonight, I just want to very quickly say, so we've recently got affiliate on our Twitch channel, and we've had a great outpouring of support on there. We've had a bunch of people sub on there. I'm very thankful to all of you out there that have subbed and followed and just stopped by on our streams when we do it on Twitch. Thank you all so much. I never thought we'd get this far, guys.
Insert plankton meme.
Oh my god! I just thought of a redemption. You can head pat the camera for a redemption.
Yeah, but I don't usually have a camera on when I'm streaming.
Never mind.
Wow.
The only time we do cameras is when yeah, I know. Well, the only time I do cameras is when we're doing the D&D streams.
Well, maybe you should put out more often then.
Maybe. I do gotta come up with some really good redeems for our channel points. I got a couple of ideas in mind that I'll probably be implementing.
Maybe
here.
you can redeem for an uwu.
I hate it.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, you can redeem for a baka.
Oh God, no.
I hate everything.
Anyway,
about this
we're moving on, please. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who stopped by our Twitch channel and just shown us a lot of love. But John, it's very fortuitous that you're here tonight because you are the czar of source material, and we're going to be talking about source material.
Wow,
what a coincidence that you're here. We totally didn't chain you down to a chair and force you to record.
I am here of my own free will.
Yeah, that's so weird.
They are treating me very well here. I am being fed every day. But no, so a question that we want to ask here, and I think it's a good question to ask, especially with anime adaptations of source material, is when you are adapting any kind of source material for an anime, is it more important to stay as true as possible to the original source material, or is it better, or are you actually required to tweak it for the new medium that it's in?
Fucking, it better stay true to the source, okay? Because obviously the author had a reason to. Anyway,
You make a voice, but you said those words unironically.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
I know there are times I know you have said those exact words just without the voice.
It's because, first of all, this is a stupid fucking topic, man. Like.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's a stupid fucking topic because it's like, is it better to tweak it or is it better to like make it your own? It's like, it depends. Like, is the source shit? Yes? Fucking tweak it.
It's not a yes or no question. That's the point. We're gonna see what exactly and when exactly do you tweak it.
I mean, I feel like everyone should be able to express their artistic selves. So if directors want to get all like fucking Kubrick with it, go ahead, but I don't know, man. Sometimes something that just deviates completely from the source material ends up better than the actual source material as well. It's very rare, but it does happen.
Yeah, and we'll definitely talk about some of those instances as well. So before we actually go too deep into this, I want to talk about, I mean, I know a lot of people listening will know what we mean when we say source material, but I do kind of want to define that term. So for our purposes here, since we're talking about anime adaptations largely, the source material we're talking about are things like manga, light novels, web novels. John, you have to say it because you always put the right emphasis on it.
Manhwa.
There you go.
I hate it here.
And we're also talking about things like visual novels too, and regular novels. So I mean, for our purposes, that's what we mean when we say source material, especially in terms of anime adaptations of source material. So the first question I kind of want to ask is, what do you guys think are things that definitely need to be changed when you're changing the medium a story is being told in, whether you're going from a manga to an anime, a light novel to an anime, or what have you?
Well, with light novels to anime, usually light novels have a lot more descriptions. There's a lot more monologuing and a lot more world building, and they tend to just kind of cut that out. And I don't disagree with that action per se, because sometimes it's like we don't really need to know that in this country they trade wheat for two schmeckles. Like, this has nothing to do with the story, but
how am I gonna spend my schmeckles if I don't know that?
But at the same time, though, I don't know. In like for Overlord, I find the enjoyment in the world building, so I hate the fact that they cut that out and the monologues. Like, that's what makes it fun. But
I know a lot of people make the argument, especially when you're adapting like Western books to movies, that you can't adapt a full, like, obviously they're gonna change it because you can't fit a full book into a movie. But when we're talking about like anime, like a lot of this stuff is TV length. So I mean, there's more like there's more wiggle room to actually adapt more of the source into and be more faithful to it. So I don't think that's as much of an excuse to be like, oh, we can't fit it all in. But like, you literally could if you wanted a really long show, and like really long shows are like, a lot of good shows are really long shows. So I mean, there's the option there, but then you are restricted by budget. Like, if you're gonna make a faithful adaptation of a novel and it's gonna be really long, then it's gonna be like a really big investment, and maybe a lot of people don't want to make that risk. So.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that, and I definitely agree with what John said. Like, especially when you're talking about like web novels, light novels, or visual novels, one of the things that definitely gets cut down a lot is dialogue.
Well, so for example, a lot of light novels start out as web novels, you know, people just posting it as a side hobby, like Maruyama and stuff, or like Fuse for Slime Tensei. They just post it online as a side hobby, and then it gets picked up and becomes a light novel. And you know, that's an adaptation, right? The light novel is an adaptation of their web novel, and generally speaking, light novels blow web novels out of the water because they don't have an editor team when they release their web novels. It's literally, oh, I'm going to write this shit up on my phone and then post it online.
Yeah, I mean, the editor is the writer in that instance.
And, because I've read a little bit of the Overlord web novel. It's fucking garbage. Albedo doesn't exist. First and foremost, is my biggest problem. There is no Albedo.
0 out of 10.
0 out of 10.
Throw it in the garbage.
And it's just,
I wanna hear that like editorial conversation of including Albedo. It's like, okay, listen, I love the world building, we love Skeleton Man, but we need big titty succubus lady to be lusting every other scene, because there's a lot of sexual tension and it's not being outletted.
Yeah, because with having just Shalltier, it's like, it's too much, you know. But now that we have competition between Shalltier and Albedo, it makes it a lot more likable.
I can't imagine Overlord without Albedo.
Me,
I
genuinely
the poster
can't.
woman, I swear.
I mean, yeah, she's basically just a poster woman for the light novel. But it's kind of the same instance for Slime Tensei. Like, the web novel is not too bad. I personally like the web novel, but the light novel is definitely a lot better.
I've heard So, I mean, John, since you read way more web novels and light novels than I do, I've heard people describe web novels as a bunch of people throwing shit at the wall, and light novels are just the things that stick.
Basically, because again, a web novel is something these authors are writing in their spare time, whether they're working a full-time job. Like, they're just writing shit to write. And
Wasn't that like Maruyama, who is the author for Overlord? He has a full-time job, doesn't he, aside from writing?
Yeah, because he only has Overlord. He hasn't made a giant impact to the point where he could retire on just... He's not Nisio
Are you
Isin.
kidding me?
Yeah, he's not. He has no Nisio Isin. He's not coming up with a novel every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, because if you only have one series for sale and you drop out of that top 10 chart, you're not really making too much money.
It's the niche light novel market for me.
No, John makes a good point, though, because like if you look at some of the best-selling stuff, like people in the top 10, the authors in the top 10 for light novels are probably pretty well paid, and they probably have multiple series going at one time or have worked on multiple series at that point. But then you got people that are beyond the top 10, and they're probably making, I mean, they might be making some money off of it, but not enough to live off of.
Honey, pay your creators.
Yeah, Japan, please pay your creators. Yeah, that's... We always have this conversation.
I know, it always seems to come back to this.
That's honestly depressing that, like, someone who wrote Overlord can't even make a living off it. Hello? That's such a good book.
Yeah, I know. So something else that obviously needs to be changed, with the exception of maybe visual novels, adapting a visual novel into an anime, is you obviously need a soundtrack, because mangas, web novels, light novels, manhwa, they don't have soundtracks.
No, they don't.
And it's kind of amazing how in some anime series the music can really carry the action and can carry the dialogue and carry the world building. It can do so much that in a printed medium you can't do.
They release drama CDs usually for like manga and stuff, where they'll hire actual voice actors to act out the roles and gauge people's reaction. Like, hey, would you guys want to see this in anime form? ?
It's funny because before the Monogatari series was adapted into an anime, they actually did have a drama CD, and a lot of the people that ended up being cast into the roles for the anime were on that drama CD, except for one. Originally, Aya Hirano was cast as Hitagi.
Oh, terrible.
Instead of Chiwa Saito.
Chiwa Saito is the best Hitagi.
It's really weird hearing Haruhi voice Hitagi.
That'd be... I hate it. I hate that. I did not need to know that information.
But that was originally who they were going to cast as Hitagi.
Yikes.
I can't imagine the Monogatari series with... not to take anything away from Aya Hirano's performances in the past. Like, I think she's a pretty decent voice actor when she's not banging half of everyone in Japan.
Not the slut shaming.
Listen, I'm not shaming. I'm impressed more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
Poor
wondering how.
Band, though.
I'm just wondering how come we weren't invited, right? Like, come on.
I know. How come I wasn't invited? Apparently, Aya Hirano's like qualifications for a boyfriend is, do you have a pulse?
I hate it here. Speaking of voice actors, that is another difference between source and anime, is how you voice the line. Also, it's like a lot, like, conversations are a lot fluid when you can actually like hear them instead of reading them. And you can do like double talk where like people talk over each other, although that's harder for subs. But
yeah, but it's certainly not impossible, and that's something that you can't really do in a printed medium. You're right.
It's very hard to do. Yeah.
Well, and again, going back to the Monogatari series, like the enormous amount of dialogue in those novels, like obviously some of it gets cut out for the anime, but it's really hard to read because there's so goddamn much of it, and they use these long ass words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that Monogatari, like, for the dialogue, would be easier to experience as a novel rather than an anime. Although the anime, the fact that you can't read it, I guess, gives it its own, like, I don't know, feeling of being, overly intellectual. So I guess you get that feeling in the way that you can't even understand it because it goes by so fast from the anime.
Yeah.
Speaking
go ahead.
of voice acting, I just wanted to give an example that I read Scum's Wish, and it was very like, it was like very average for me. But the anime version of it, because of the really good voice acting and music that made all the scenes like the proper amount of suspenseful, it really made the story way more interesting. And I completely attribute that to the voice acting and the music. All of the audio there was really made the story that much more interesting, especially for a story like Scum's Wish, where the drama is really the whole point of the story. So making dramatic tension more poignant is really important for those kind of shows.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one, because I've read Scum's Wish too, and like, it's not to say that the source is bad, because it's not. It's just it's like you say, it's sort of middle of the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think the voice acting in its anime adaptation really just took it to another level.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything else that we definitely think needs to be changed before I move on?
Well, I go ahead.
So, for action-heavy light novels, I kind of like anime adaptations of that. Like, first of all, I don't really like SAO too much, other than the fight scenes. I love the action scenes in SAO. I hate the rest of it. You know,
Don't lie. You also like the music.
Oh yeah, I like Crossing Field. The rest of the music's okay. Crossing Field's like the best OP opener that SAO has, but that's my opinion because I haven't seen any other ones. Well, no, that's not true. I saw SAO. I think I saw season 2, right? Well, there's Rosario and the other one. Was that season? Yeah, that was season 2. Probably.
There's too many seasons.
I don't know.
Yeah, you got that right.
The first 4 novels in the series, I think. Anyway, point is, SAO's fight scenes, like, in the original novel, it doesn't translate very well because the author is pretty bad at writing. But, man, phenomenal animation, right?
Oh
It
yeah,
is
like
really
if there's one like I say I, but we shit on Sword Art Online a lot on this podcast. But one thing we really can't shit on, especially with the first season, is how well animated it was.
Well, I think the rest of the seasons are well animated too, but
well, I haven't seen them, so I don't know.
They're all really well animated.
Yeah, it's all really good. Like, I just love watching the fight scene compilations because that's all I care about at this point. Fuck the story. I don't care about who's fighting who for what reason. I just want to see the fights, man.
Yeah, I mean, with action heavy stuff though, I mean, especially with a light novel or a web novel, I mean, yeah, you can read the action all you want, but I definitely think it lends itself more to a visual medium like anime.
And even for stuff like manga, the fights are like PowerPoint. So it's a different experience watching the fight being animated and watching it in a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
Contrary to that statement, I do want to talk about Akame ga Kill, because literally the manga, I don't know what they did, but the way they wrote the fight scenes, even though it was like a manga, it just looked so fluid, and like one panel by the other really linked into each other really well. And honestly, one of the best parts of Akame ga Kill is the author's ability to draw really fluid fight scenes, which didn't translate to the anime, because the fight scenes in the anime were, I think the anime was in general a pretty mediocre production, and the fight scenes were pretty average. It was just like people flying around doing typical anime shit. But in the manga, it was like, as I guess because the manga is such a restrictive medium for fights, it was really impressive to see how he drew those, or I don't know their gender, how they drew those.
How do you feel about the ending to? Never mind.
We don't talk about the ending.
Yeah, no, let's not.
Anytime you bring up Akame ga Kill, I always have to mention the ending because you were so fucking triggered by that ending.
I was me too. Holy shit!
I was angry at the manga.
No, you don't understand. I distinctly remember when the manga ended, him like texting me immediately after he got through reading is like, I'm so pissed right now.
Listen, Akame ga Kill popped my cherry on me liking a manga and it ending horribly, and now I just like every manga I read that I like ends horribly, so now I'm over it. And I'm like, whatever. I know it's gonna end shit, but whatever.
It's hard to fucking end mangas. Like,
I mean, you know, just writing in general, endings are one of the most difficult things to do. I mean, because no matter what you write, you're obviously not gonna please everyone. Especially
at least
if
please me.
It's a hugely popular thing.
Yeah.
I mean, at least please me.
You hear that, mangakas? You need to please Show from the Anime Club After Dark podcast.
That's right.
Exactly.
He's the only one that matters. He's the only member of your audience that matters.
Exactly. I mean, is that wrong?
Yes. Clearly not.
It is completely wrong. Anyway.
All right. So,
wait. Before we move on for that. So, speaking of PowerPoint presentation, that made me think of Bleach. So, one of the chapters I was really looking forward to being animated because I was like, it's so shitty in the manga. I wonder how they're going to do it. So, there's a fight scene in Bleach where Ichigo is fighting that other guy with the fucking cool looking hair. And he throws like a rock at him. And like the entire manga is just like black panels to illustrate like fast action scenes.
Not that.
And I guess it's kind of cool because then Ichigo like chops off his own arm and throws it at the guy, and the guy is like, "You think that would disturb me?" And then Ichigo goes and like fucking one punches him. But I was like, I wonder how that's gonna be animated. And holy shit, did they stick true to the source, man? That shit looked like a PowerPoint.
Oh no.
And they even cut out the hand throwing scene. I was like, why? That was the only cool part of this fight scene.
So that would definitely be an example of a work that should have deviated from its source material.
It's because again, if the source is bad, it's fine. Like you can't make it any worse than the source.
Au contraire, mon frère. You can indeed.
Oh god.
So I wrote this question down because it's one thing I definitely wanted to ask John, since he reads a lot of stuff. Well, way more than I think myself and Sho do. For you, John, what are things that you specifically look for when an anime adaptation of a source material that you actually like is going to be adapted?
Let me answer for him. He looks for a good OP, and that's it.
Okay.
I mean, he's not wrong. So, when you go to the big screen from manga or light novel, I really care about OST because it's like, all right, if I like the source material, then you've got to bring other things to the table for my anime enjoyment, because at this point I read a lot more than I watch nowadays. So it's hard for me to get into a show if it doesn't have a good OST. Like, if the story's good, sure, I'll fucking watch it if it looks good. But if there's no like good music or good voice acting, I'll kind of fucking hate it. I was turned off to a bunch of anime like that too, where it was stupid. I read the source for the manga and I liked the manga, but then the anime had the voice actress for his little sister was just so fucking annoying, and I was like, I can't do this. I watched 3 episodes. No, not even that one. Not even that one. She's fine. Miyuki is fine.
Is she,
I mean, it's fair enough for you too, because I know that one thing that you really, really like about anime is music. I mean, you really get into the music of anime.
Yeah, like, music to me, I wouldn't say it's first, but it's very important for me to enjoy the OST, along with...
Definitely in the
like,
top 3, though, you'd say?
Yeah, music, voice acting, and kind of... I normally don't care about art. I still don't really care about art, but it does depend. Like, if the source material has really cool art, like Sobin does Overlord's art, and I fucking love that, I want them to kind of capture that style and bring it to anime. Which Madhouse perfectly did well. They captured the Sobin's art style, and I thought they translated it pretty well. It wasn't as, like, fucking edgy as Sobin makes his stuff, but, I mean... Sobin's a god, so if they made an anime that looked like Sobin's art, I would fucking anime of the century for me. So,
that brings to light a good point to make too. Is like when you do an anime adaptation of like a source material that already has things like character designs and stuff worked out. Is it important to actually maintain the exact same visual style that's put into the manga or the light novels or the visual novels when you do the anime?
I mean, not really, because a lot of this applies more to web novels than it does light novels, but a lot of web novels is really bad art. Like, you think In Another World with My Smartphone is fucking ugly looking? Man, you should see the web novel art. It's bad.
It's like literal stick figures.
It looks like it came straight out of 2006, my dude. And the light novel looks a lot better and cleaned up, and the manga looks way better. And I'm glad that they took the art from the fucking light novel / manga to make the anime, even though the anime was shit, but the source was shit, so it doesn't really matter.
A lot of light novels have very basic character designs, and then a lot of light novel adaptations have like they keep these basic character designs, and I don't know if it's intentional, but if it's intentional, I don't like it. But I don't like seeing like literally every light novel protagonist in anime looks the same, and I'm like, can you like, I don't know, make your own style? Hello?
Well, I mean, a good example of that I've watched the recent, and Natai's gonna fucking murder me when he hears me say this, is Snafu. Like, I can't say that the character designs are particularly...
What do you mean? That's a horrible example. The protagonist for Snafu is like very
Unique.
like unique.
Yeah.
Like,
okay,
can
that's
pick him
one
out from a
character
lineup.
though. I mean, what about the other ones? Come on.
You talking about
The
like
other ones are
Yui
generic.
and
The generic
Yeah,
harem
they're
filler.
not that different or
The
special.
harem fillers for me.
I mean, you're kind of right. So the harem girls are kind of just like anime girl. When I think anime girl, that's what pops up in my mind.
Yeah,
Ambiguous
really? Like, seriously?
anime girl. Like, oh yeah, they look pretty. Anime girls. I can definitely tell that they're anime girls.
No, literally, like when you think of blonde, like generic blonde anime girl, Iraha's literally what I picture.
Iraha? You mean Yui? Oh, you said blonde.
No, Iraha.
Yeah.
Because she's blonde, or blonde-ish. But that's literally what I picture. Like, that exact character design is what I picture. Ty's gonna fucking murder me when he hears me say that.
But I like their design because... So that's a case of like where the light novel looks okay, it's not too bad, but goddamn did that new anime studio fucking knock it out of the park.
Oh yeah, Studio Feel, yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's a huge difference in the art style between the first and second and third seasons.
Yeah, like the first season I liked just because I liked the story and like the voice acting, like Hikigaya is fucking hilarious, but the art itself, yeah, it was kind of ugly, but it's because it's like based on the light novel. So when Studio Feel came over and they're like, you know what, let's make them prettier by making the lines thinner, but you're gonna make the images sharper. Then we're gonna get rid of the round shapes. And I was just like, I fucking love this. It looks great.
And also made them like, I won't say completely realistic, but more realistic body proportions. I will say a anime adaptation that really took the idea of translating a visual style very literally, and it's not certainly not the only one, but Clannad. They 100% lifted all the designs from that straight from the visual novel.
I mean, it was made by Visual Kei, so I mean, duh. Like, if they are the same studio that created the visual novel, why wouldn't they just lift assets and animate it using those assets? I don't understand. That seems like it would be more what's the word I'm looking for? Economical. It would be more economical.
Yeah,
cost effective, economical to do that. That's, to me, you've already spent the money to create these assets. May as fucking well lift it, and that's what they did with Fate, the Fate series. They lifted the assets from the visual novels and put it into a fucking
pretty
anime.
much, yeah. Not so much though. I think with more recent Fate adaptations, I think they've been a little.
Oh no,
more...
Ufotable fucking decided. You know what? We're gonna look at these designs and then make them way fucking prettier and cooler. And I was like, okay, sounds good.
No, Ufotable was like, all right, we're gonna take this basic character design, we're gonna take the line art, and we're gonna throw everything else out, and we're gonna do everything else ourselves.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it. That's how Ufotable just tackled Fate. It seems to have worked out for them in their favor. So, all right. So one thing, John kind of jokingly mentioned this at the beginning, like the 1-to-1 anime adaptation, like it has to be exactly the same. People bitch about that all the time.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that 1-to-1, like literal 1-to-1 anime adaptations of source material are actually even possible?
No fucking way. No one. So if you adapted, like, let's say a novel like Overlord into a 1-to-1 anime adaptation, the first 12 episodes would be the first fucking book. Okay. Like,
yeah.
Oh god. That's not true. I'd say the first. You could do it in 6 episodes. Really. There's certain things I'd cut out too. How I would cut it out.
It would be drawn out way longer than it is.
Yeah. So instead of the typical like 3 or 4 episodes per light novel volume, if they tried to just stick to like at least double that, like 6 to 8, I think it would actually work out pretty well. One example of that would be like Slime Tensei. That one, I'm basing this off of the web novel, but there's only like 10 volumes, so each volume isn't very long, but they adapt each volume like pretty well, because instead of, again, rushing through one volume in 3 fucking episodes, they do it in like 8. Maybe because there's not too much to the source material, but because of that, it seems like a better anime, because there's more, like, you learn a lot more about the world, you get more invested in the show and stuff like that.
Do you think that also plays into why Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnations anime adaptation has been so well received?
So, again, for Mushoku Tensei, I haven't read the light novel. I've only read the web novel. As for the anime adaptation, it does it pretty well. Like, it does cut out certain things that, again, aren't very important, but to me, they were important because there's more story to be told. There's a lot of things happening in the background that they didn't even mention. So I'm waiting for the moment when it comes up out of nowhere and everyone's gonna be like, what the fuck? They came out of nowhere. Fucking railroading, or what's that fucking thing? Oh my god. The chalice. The thing. The thing that... Deus Ex Machina.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what it's called. Oh my god.
This is John's mind at work, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, where it's like a Deus Ex Machina happens, where it's like, oh, all of a sudden, now this. And in Mushoku Tensei, it's like, well, actually, there were things in the background that were happening that they talk about in the web novel, but you didn't get to see it in the anime. So it's going to eventually come to a head, and I know people are going to bitch about it, but whatever. That's my answer.
I mean, there's nothing to say that stuff couldn't eventually be addressed in a sort of flashback or something.
That's just lazy. I hate it.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not ideal.
If I don't let Guilty Crown get away with it, I'm not going to let Mushoku Tensei get away with it, okay?
No.
Yeah.
So, like, one-to-one anime adaptations are obviously not possible because they're different sources. So if you're being, like, very specific about what that means, no, it's not possible. But you could get, like, 95% close to it. And there's definitely adaptations that, like, don't even try and are like, whatever, this isn't gonna be faithful at all. And there's adaptations that are like, we're gonna be as faithful as possible. And, like, the as faithful as possible adaptations are, like, literally basically one-to-one. Like, stuff like Hunter x Hunter, like the newer version, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, like, there's a lot of other ones that are very, like, very faithful. And there's small changes here and there, but I mean, it's basically the same.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, people say the same thing about Attack on Titan.
Yeah, I would also include Attack. Like, there's small changes, but it's basically the same plot. It's like the same experience.
Yeah, I mean, there was. I think I was talking to Natai about this. Like, there's only one huge, and it's not even that big of a difference between the Attack on Titan. Maybe it was you I was talking to this with. That there's one thing in the manga where it's actually shown out of order in the anime adaptation. Like, it's shown later than it is in the manga, but I think it was you that told me this, that it's the only major change that they've made in the anime adaptation. Which is not even
that major of a change.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, obviously you can get pretty close. Although with Attack on Titan, I think they definitely changed the art style a little bit, let's be honest.
Oh, for sure. And I think that, like, upgrading art styles is definitely desirable. Like, don't stay with the old art style if you have to. Like, they did a major upgrade from the manga. The manga's kind of like shit in art style wise.
Like Haikyuu.
Oh yeah, Haikyuu too.
Haikyuu, that's another one. Yeah, they definitely did a huge upgrade to the character designs in that. This is gonna sound really mean. There's no other way to say this about Haikyuu's manga. The characters are ugly. They're really ugly in the manga.
But you guys should be reading it because it's a good story, not because the boys look good.
Why? I don't watch sports anime for the story. Hello? Hello?
And I don't know what it is about the Haikyuu manga. I tried reading it. I really did. The characters' eyes are not spaced properly. I don't know why this bothers me so much, but it does.
Girl, majority of the reason I watch Haikyuu is for how good it looks. Like, I'm not gonna watch it. I don't watch that for the story, let's be honest here.
You just be perfectly honest. You watch it for the cute boys. Don't even lie.
I mean, isn't that what the point of sports anime is?
What about sports anime that have all female casts?
That's why I don't watch them. That's a lie. I watched Keijo, but for a completely different reason.
Keijo? The fucking butt sumo anime?
Butt
We
sumo.
love that.
Fucking
We
unlimited
stan
butt
that.
works?
We
Yeah.
stand that.
Oh, that show was fucking hilarious. I loved it.
It's so stupid.
And that was the entire point. Like, it's supposed to be making fun of like sports anime, and I loved it.
It was quite hilarious.
I love all the
Butt works.
I love all the obvious budget that went into just animating butt jiggles. Like, so many anime do boob jiggles, they just went, butt jiggles. That's where it's at.
Fucking hidden butt jutsu, dude. Shadow clone butt jutsu.
So speaking of one-to-one anime adaptations, this brings to light another question that there's a lot of anime out there that get or not a lot of manga out there or other source material out there that get anime announced for them that are nowhere near done. In fact, many of them may not even be at the halfway point of their stories yet. So the question is, should unfinished works ever be adapted? And if they are adapted, and especially if it's supposed to be a complete adaptation, how do you handle that?
Fucking not like Game of Thrones, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for live action stuff, Game of Thrones is like the first like really big example of people in the West having to deal with what people who are anime fans have had to deal with for years. The anime getting ahead of the source material.
Yeah.
I also love that in Gintama there's a huge like tirade that one of the characters goes on about how anime always end up outpacing their source material. So that's why they do filler.
Well, yeah, because an anime episode can cover, like, if it's a manga, you could cover anywhere between 3 to like 5 chapters. And if your anime releases fucking once a week, it's like, all right, well, they've just covered a month to 2 months worth of content in 20 minutes.
And of course, it also plays into, is your source material, is it being published weekly? Is it being published monthly?
Oh
is
yeah,
it being
like Attack on
4
Titan
times a year?
is published monthly. So
Oh my god.
when they do an
so
episode,
so fucking slow.
and they do an episode, it's like, all right, well, we've covered 2.5 chapters, so that's 2.5 months worth of quality content. Oh god.
Literally. Listen, this question
Mhm.
boils down to corporate greed.
Oh
Listen,
my.
if you want money, make a shit show with filler and a shit ending and pump that out.
I don't know.
Don't even edit it.
According
don't
to
even look at it.
executives, anime doesn't make money, so I don't know what they're doing this for.
Honey, the producers
Exactly.
make money.
Yeah, I
The
know.
people who do the work
know.
don't.
I know.
So you pump that hot shit out and everybody screams and complains and you count your money. And that's how the industry works.
I have always been of the opinion, personally, that the only reason an unfinished work should have an adaptation start is when it's very near its end. Like, in my opinion, like, even though I think Attack on Titan is shit, I'll use it as an example. Attack on Titan's anime adaptation shouldn't have started until about 2 years ago.
I mean, that's a really bad example because that was a really successful first season. Like, that made a really big fan base.
We know that anime gets pushed because they're trying to boost the sales of its source material, right? That's just something we understand and we all acknowledge.
That for a long time, yes, that's been the case, but with so many anime now, like even anime that you wouldn't think would get additional seasons, getting additional seasons, I don't know if it's as much the case now as it used to be.
No, I'm telling you, there's
the
some
whole
market
Restaurant to
research
Another
in it.
World thing got another season, and I don't think anyone was expecting that.
I don't know, man. Let's go look at Oricon. Let's look at the fucking, where's the listing for the light novel? See where it's at. I bet you it's in the top 15.
You may be right about that.
Yeah. It's all about money, man. Greasing the wheels. But see, when I first read this question, should unfinished works be adapted? I thought you meant like, what if like High School of the Dead or Berserk, where like the obviously the authors are dead now. So
Yeah.
what should we do with adapting the rest of it? It's like, I thought that was where this question was headed, not this.
No.
But
I think, okay, well...
I mean, there's a question to be asked there, too, but I think that's more of a, how do you respect the wishes of the original author?
fucking, we're gonna do what Nickelodeon did to Hillenberg. Fucking destroy it all.
Just milk fucking SpongeBob for all it's worth.
Yes.
I gotta feel bad for him. He explicitly said no spin-offs, and then the second he died, they announced like 5 spin-offs to SpongeBob.
Yeah. I think unfinished work should be adapted because it's to boost the popularity of this show. Like, hopefully the anime adaptation does a successful job at least garnering attention for the source and showing that it has more of a broad appeal.
When you make an anime as an advertisement, it's always shit.
I mean, yes, that's why they always end bad.
Why are you encouraging shit?
Cause,
not you being part of the corporate greed.
Because then you're like, well, now I need to go read the source material.
No,
why doesn't everyone
that's
just
unhealthy marketing.
I mean, the thing you could say about that is obviously people should do a better job marketing the source material.
Yeah, but a lot of people like don't read web novels or light novels because, first of all, it's reading, right? It's a giant block of text. There's no pretty pictures, and people have short attention spans. Like, obviously, anime plays a very big part of it. I'd say a lot of people, at least 70% of people who like stuff, they got into it from the anime perspective. Like, I think it's rare that people just go out and find light novels to read, because even for me, a lot of my light novels that I start reading is because of the manga adaptation. I'll go read the manga and be like, hey, you know what? I like this. I want to read more. Does it have a source material? Then I'll go find it and read it, you know? That's how it works.
I mean, you're right. I mean, I don't know of many people, in the West at least, who have become, like, anime fans who actually became something like manga or light novel fans first.
Plus, it's also hard to watch, like, see, you watch an anime, right? Let's say you watch a 12-episode anime that covers, I don't know, 3 or 4 volumes. That's going to take you, like, what, 4 to 6 hours at most? Like, it's about 4 hours. It depends. You skip OPEDs, how long it runs, stuff like that. But it's going to take you, you know, you could do it in a day. Could you read
you can do it in an afternoon.
Could you read 4 of that in the same amount of time? You could not.
Most people know. I mean, yeah, there are some speed readers out there that probably could, but the average person no.
Yeah, and it kind of goes the same for a manga. Like, 100 chapters of a monthly manga would take you way longer than a single day to read instead of just watching 24 episodes of it.
Yeah, you're right. So for unfinished works that do get adapted, I mean, how should their adaptations end? I mean, you look at something like the original Full Metal Alchemist. I mean, there's a lot of debate back and forth about whether Full Metal Alchemist or Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is better. I err on the side of Brotherhood because I actually really like how the manga ended up ending, and I really don't like how the original, like the anime original ending was done.
Yeah, I hated the anime original ending for Full Metal Alchemist because I liked the show at that point. Like, I love the fucking songs. I still like the songs. I still listen to the songs. But it's like the fact that it has its own ending without the source material being done, and the fact that they ended it with a stupid fucking movie, I hated it. Like, I was so hyped to watch it because I was like, oh man, like, the anime ends so, like, stupid because it's kind of a cliffhanger. There's so many unanswered questions. I hope this movie answers everything. It answers nothing. And you're just like, what the fuck?
It's the way you have to watch both versions to get, like, an actually good experience, because Brotherhood kind of skips, like, the first arc or whatever. So you don't really get the, like, proper experience, whereas the original adaptation does a pretty good job of that.
Yeah. I mean, I've always said that one of the things you should probably do is merge the two adaptations together. Like, watch, for the very beginning at least, watch like the first 5 or 6 episodes of 2003 and then just switch over to Brotherhood.
Literally, that's the best watching order, but it's so complicated.
But yeah, because especially in the first few episodes, Brotherhood really compresses a bunch of story stuff.
Probably because Brotherhood was made for like Full Metal Alchemist fans that were just pissed off at the original Full Metal Alchemist.
Literally, it was.
And that also like there's very few examples out there of. In fact, Full Metal Alchemist, there may be others. There's certainly remakes that have been done, but Full Metal Alchemist is the only adaptation I can think of where the adaptation essentially got a redo. Like, I doubt that there's many other examples of source material out there or anime that will ever garner enough attention or money.
Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z
okay,
Super.
Okay,
And,
fair enough.
Well, actually, no. Dragon Ball Z Kai. Kai was the remake. Super is the new shit.
Yeah.
Super I don't talk about.
But you get my point. Like, this is you're not going to have this for every anime where they start the adaptation before the work is finished and they come up with an anime original ending, and they're not always going to go back and just remake the whole thing.
No, it's very rare. Like, the only two that we have is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and then we have Dragon Ball Z, because then GT came out, but GT's not canon because holy shit, what's the guy's name? Akira Toriyama. Yeah, he didn't even write GT. That was like the people under him who were like, hey, let's make our own story. And it has nothing to do with Dragon Ball. And then that's why they made Kai, because they're like, all right, let's just condense this shit and retell the story with all the important bits without the filler. And now they have Super, which is its own fucking thing, and I don't understand it. And I don't really like it, but other people like it, so I guess yay anime industry, I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, can you guys think of any other examples of anime that were adapted from unfinished source material that had really shitty endings that maybe deserve a Brotherhood treatment like that?
Dead Man Wonderland.
Yeah.
Not that.
To be honest, the whole manga just needs a redo too.
Yeah. What else? What was that fucking Soul Eater?
Oh god, yes.
There's a lot of anime that's like this, okay? And it's very sad.
Cough, cough. Berserk.
Berserk. They did Berserk dirty, dude. Fuck. Every single adaptation. Where's the fucking David Productions? Please save Berserk.
Yeah,
you saved JoJo's, you can save Berserk.
If anyone could, it'd be David Productions. It really would. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say about this is that some unfinished works can be adapted properly, because a lot of times, like, the end of an arc ends perfectly fine, and you could just end the story there, and you don't really have to keep going. But the source keeps going, but the anime doesn't have to. They could just end it there. Like, stuff like Vinland Saga, where the current adaptation ended, that's a great ending point. We don't need any more. But the source keeps going, and that's fine. And, you know, the anime is apparently going to keep going as well. I don't know how well that's going to be. But similar to that, a lot of anime have, like, soft stopping points. And also, like, Attack on Titan at the end of the 3rd season, when they finally get to the basement, like, we just end it there. We don't need to keep going. Okay? So
that's where the story goes bad.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There's
right?
some good stopping points that we don't need to keep going. So, do we need to finish adapting sources? Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
No, I hate that. I hate that forever cliffhanger. If they got to the basement and they just opened it up, and then we don't know about what happens after, they just find the diary and read it, I would hate that.
To
be fair, you know what happens after that, and you don't like that either.
Fair.
He's not happy either way.
Damn if you don't. But Show brings up a really good point. I mean, sometimes it's actually even written into certain source material where, like, there are these soft endings after major arcs, and that's how some anime adaptations end, especially for unfinished source material. And like, hell, Spice and Wolf did that with the end of its 2nd season. Like, it ends on like this soft ending that is actually in the light novels.
Yeah, but what source material really writes in soft endings? Not a lot.
No, not a lot, but I mean, certain anime adaptations of unfinished works do. Hell, No Game No Life did it.
Also, Promise Neverland, like, they should have just ended at season 1. That was a perfectly fine stopping point. That was, like, an encapsulated story. It didn't need to keep going. Like, there's a lot of shows that just could have just ended.
Would you be saying that if season 2 was actually good, though? Isn't this
yes,
just, like, buyer's remorse?
Even before I even watched season 2, I thought season 1 was good standalone. It's a standalone story. It ends.
Season 2 of Promise Neverland is a really good example of the question, like, how the fuck did you screw up this damn bad? Like, wow.
Okay, even in our spoiler cast of Promise Neverland, at the end of the show, I was like, I'm skeptical of how they're going to continue this, because there's a lot of problems that could happen if you keep going, and the problems did happen. So it's fine. It's a great stopping point for the adaptation. That's
actually a really great segue into the next question I was going to ask. It's like, because obviously there's examples like Promise Neverland, which deviated from its source material in its second season really by a lot. There's examples of anime like that have suffered greatly from deviating from their source material, and there are examples of anime that have actually benefited by deviating from their source material. So I wanted to kind of bring up examples of both of those things. Obviously, Promise Neverland is a really great example of an anime that deviated from its source material in its second season and suffered mightily from it.
Go ahead. You have like 100.
Well, it's like, I didn't do no research. I can't fucking possibly remember every single anime that deviates from the source material and is bad. I mean, here's an old one for you guys. Rosario plus Vampire.
Oh god.
Not this.
Now, again, the source material isn't that great, but I did enjoy reading the manga, but holy shit, does that deviate from the source material real bad.
By a wide margin.
And it's like, they literally cut and paste the storyline of, like, when people meet. They fucking change the abilities of the main character. They change a lot of things about the fucking manga to make it anime. And I thought the anime was okay. And then I read the manga, and I'm like, oh, the manga was way better. Man, the anime is shit. Looks pretty. I like the music. Rie Kugamiya's in it. She's the Yuki Onna. She sings that Snowstorm song, and I fucking love it. Ugh. Has a Spanish guitar.
That was back in the day. That was one of the waifu simulator anime. Because there was literally a waifu for everybody in that show.
Yeah. Fucking Yuki Onna supremacy here.
I'm trying to think. Go ahead.
I can't not talk about Tokyo Ghoul and how shit.
Oh my god, yes.
Listen,
Holy
for the first season, they cut off like a really major plot arc, and to the anime's credit, that made the first season a bit more succinct, and they were able to end it at a pretty nice point where they could have just ended it there. But clearly they're like, actually, never mind, I want to continue it. But since they omitted the plot point, it's like nothing made sense after that. Everything's just, they started making original shit. It's just, they rearranged shit. Nothing made sense, and it was just a hot mess.
Was Route A like its own fucking thing? Like, was there any source material in that?
I honestly don't remember.
Because I remember, because the manga itself is weird because it ends, right? And then there's a Tokyo Ghoul Part 2, right?
Yes.
So that in itself was weird to me.
But the first season did not cover the full first manga.
Yeah, I know. So the fact that they went back and made their own little story.
Route A is, I think, like, it shares elements with the actual manga, but it's like very different.
I always thought Route A was just a collective fever dream of Tokyo Ghoul fans. Like, it doesn't actually exist.
I hate it here.
Like, I'm trying to think of other examples. See, the problem is, I don't want to think about these other anime examples because it's like, I don't care about these animes for a very good reason.
Not that.
I don't want to think about this any longer than I have to.
I mean, you could you could obviously talk about Naruto and the copious amounts of filler, which is filler deviating from the source material, or is it just giving you time to actually keep going with the source material?
I don't think filler deviates from it, especially since a lot of filler is non-canonical, or it has like, even if it is canonical, it doesn't really matter. Like, oh
True.
man, what is under Kakashi's mask?
Hey,
that whole
fuck
episode.
you. That's canonical in my mind. You cannot.
No,
you
that
cannot
no.
convince
Don't get me wrong. The
otherwise.
filler was enjoyable, but it had no like bearing to the plot. It didn't really matter. It didn't influence any decisions made to the core storyline.
But it was
So-
funny.
Yeah, but it was funny. So filler, we know, obviously exists to be filler. It's to give a buffer for the manga and the anime, so that way the story doesn't deviate. So I don't think filler is bad in that sense, but I mean, there's some like your fucking typical beach episodes, your fucking typical random love story line that we're gonna follow for these background characters that doesn't fucking matter. Like
They don't go anywhere.
And they don't go anywhere, and you're like, why? No one cares about this. But again, that's a thing to just give a buffer for the manga, the source material. So I understand why it exists. And there's also like, so Overlord is not going to include the filler volume. So there's a volume in Overlord that's just basically filler. It's the beach episode, and I love it because it's hilarious. And it's more background stuff for like the side characters. But they're definitely not gonna adapt that into the anime, so that's kind of shitty. But that would be like the whole filler arc right there. The entire 12 episodes would just be all filler, and people would hate it. So I understand why they don't want to do that with Overlord 4, but I liked it.
So there is one anime in particular I can point to with this, and I guess in a way it's the second season. So Steins Gate Zero. I've played the visual novel.
Okay,
I really like the visual novel. I think it's as good, if not even a little bit better, than its counterpart, the original Steins Gate visual novel. And a lot of people, myself included, loved the original Steins Gate anime. But then Steins Gate Zero comes along, and yeah, it has some good parts. It really does. But I can't go too deep into it without major spoilers. But they really muddled that adaptation a lot. There's some stuff that's shown completely out of order. I mean, yeah, obviously that's going to happen with the time. Time travel is the plot of Steins Gate. But just the adaptation itself was slow. It was really slow. Like, people bitch about the first few episodes of Steins Gate, the original anime, being slow. The first, 10 episodes of Steins Gate Zero are really slow. I don't know. It's something that it could have been great. And I know a ton of people, myself included, that were looking forward to Steins Gate Zero. And I can't say I was 100% disappointed by it, but I absolutely know from playing the visual novel, it could have been so much better. And it's sad. It really is, because I think that Steins Gate Zero is actually better than Steins Gate. Anyway, enough of my ranting about that.
Well, because it's like I've only seen the anime, so I don't know. Like, I thought the animes were alright. Oh, okay, whatever. Like, fucking boo-boo on my opinion.
If all you know about Steins Gate is its anime counterparts, you would probably think that Steins Gate Zero was pretty damn good, and I wouldn't fault you for thinking that.
Yeah, see, I will never play visual novels. I only did it for Clint Ad. I'm never going to play another visual novel in my life.
That's because it made you cry. Don't even lie about that shit.
It tore me up, man. Tore me up.
So, are there any anime that have actually benefited from deviating from the source?
Yes,
K-On! Obviously,
I hate
K-On!
it here.
No, seriously, I gush about K-On! All the time, and I genuinely love it. But K-On!'s anime adaptation so far outstrips its source material that K-On! May as well be an anime original. That's how far ahead of its source material it is. I'd also say that not to the degree of K-On!, but I would say to a far lesser degree, the anime adaptation of Yuru Camp is doing kind of the same thing, where I do genuinely think the anime adaptation is better than its source material.
Oh my god, what's that anime? What's that idol anime that's not Idol Master?
That's a good question.
Utano Prince
The other
Sama?
one. No. Oh my god, I can't remember it.
The idol anime? You mean
Love
Zombieland
Live.
Saga?
No, Love Live.
Oh god, no! Jesus Christ!
So Love Live originally, like, I don't like Love Live for very many reasons, mainly just because I like Idolmaster more. It's not to say that Love Live isn't bad, isn't good. I don't know. I just don't like Love Live, man. I can't explain this. I could explain
can we
this.
also?
Brand
Well,
loyal.
I don't think you can actually talk about Love Live's quality without also mentioning its fan base. It's a little
Oh
toxic.
god, no.
Yeah, the fan base itself is kind of gross. Not kind of, it's really gross. However, Love Live. So it's originally a manga, and I believe that the anime and the subsequent video games that came afterwards outgrew the manga. Like, it doesn't follow its source
for sure.
material, and it's definitely become its own thing, and it worked. Like, the manga by itself was a good starting point, but becoming its own entity and by itself a product of the idol industry, it's kind of great for it. It's definitely very rare to have animes that benefit from deviating from the source material. Like, Dagashi Kashi was one of them that I talk about, where I'm like, yeah, as much as I don't like the anime, I think the anime is a lot better than the fucking manga, that's for sure.
You got to be specific though. The first season of the anime, the second season's dog shit.
See, I've never seen the second season, so
They turned it into a short.
Oh.
They
Right.
cut the
That's
budget in
such a
half,
rare-
and then they turned it into like I think 10-minute short episodes.
And then, there's another one. We talk about it a lot.
Beastars.
No, it wasn't Beastars.
I think the
I mean-
Beastars anime is better than its source material. It
So,
certainly
the problem-
looks better.
Yeah, because, first of all, you're right. The art of Beastars is fucking chicken scratch. It's like
I mean, what do you expect?
she's
The
a
author's
chicken.
literally a chicken.
So I get
Yeah.
it. I get it. But yeah, like Beastars is the anime is so much more dramatic, but it makes it better in my opinion because I like the dramaticness of the show
It's
compared to
jazz,
the
man.
the manga. The manga is just like, oh man, we need to go do this. Then they go do it. It's so fast paced. Like it's bad. I wouldn't say it's bad. I don't know.
ooh.
Some people like it, I guess.
I've got another one where the anime has sort of outstripped its source material, and it's more recent too. Cells at Work.
Okay.
I definitely think that I do think that the anime looks better than the source material, although a lot of that credit of that goes to David Productions.
Yeah. Bless David Productions.
But I think that most people now are far more familiar with the anime adaptations than they are with the manga. I'm trying to think. I think
Because they
to
made
a lesser
learning
degree,
fun, man. That's why.
To a lesser degree, I would say perhaps the Monogatari series anime adaptations as well. I just really think that Shaft hit it out of the park with that adaptation. I really do. I'm trying to think if there's any others out there that I genuinely think the anime outstripped its source material. I can't.
You can probably count them on your hands, dude. Like it's
Yeah.
that rare. Okay.
It is. It's incredibly rare. I mean, I might also be tempted to say New Game. Its anime might actually be a little bit better than its source material, but its source material is a 4-coma, so.
I haven't really watched much anime that are better than the source if we exclude like visual and audio improvements. If we're just talking about like changes in plot, then usually when you change the plot, you kind of fuck up from my experience.
Yeah, I mean, if it's very, very minor, then yeah, you can probably get away with it. But yeah, anything more than like changing a line or something, it's gonna affect the quality narratively. Yeah, for sure. I mean, hell, in Spice and Wolf's anime adaptation, which I gush over all the time, there's a character in the anime that doesn't even exist in the source material.
So going back to the whole one-for-one anime adaptations, like if we did one-for-one and we tried to keep as much of the source material as possible without deviating from the source, like then what would be the point of having a storyboard and then having storyboard writers and having a director? Like just the script's right there, man. Just read the fucking manga or read the light novel, and then put it on the page.
Not those.
Fair enough.
Because there's got to be some sort of like artistic rendition or impression that they've got to leave on it. obviously, again, if the source is really good, don't lean on it too hard. Like, don't break it. It's not it's not infallible, dude. Don't do this.
It can't hold all that weight.
But I think it's fine to express yourself, and show you, like, this is how I interpreted this scene. Like, okay, you snooty bitch.
John,
like, let's
John,
see.
I've got one. I've got one. I've got an example of an anime that is better, I think, than its source material.
Gridman.
No, Initial D.
Oh god, yeah. Initial D's manga is trash.
Except for third stage. Third stage and go eat a dick.
I don't know if it's because I have nostalgia lenses on or something when I think about Initial D, because I've seen the anime first and I love the anime. Then I read the manga and I was like, oh, the manga sucks. So I don't know. I can't really tell.
I feel like for something like Initial D, since it's literally about cars racing and drifting, I think that lends itself way more to a motion medium like anime than it does a static medium like manga.
That's a good point, yeah. But that's just more like it's the same thing for action oriented.
It's the same thing we talked about with action oriented like light novels and manga. Yeah, for sure.
Like things that require that it's hard to fucking visualize because there's so many things going on. Of course, the anime adaptation is gonna be better because you can finally see it.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, so the thing I want to end this on, so obviously there have been a lot more live action adaptations of anime, manga, light novels recently. And some of those are being done, in Japan or in Asia. But there's a lot more, again, recently that have been done in the West, particularly in Hollywood. So I'm curious, for these live action adaptations of anime or manga or light novels, do you actually judge those adaptations differently than you would an anime adaptation of a manga, a light novel, a web novel, whatever?
I mean, yes, because you've got to give it, like, the runtime for live action adaptations, usually it's going to be in movie format, so they only got 90 minutes to fucking adapt what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, typically 90 to 120 minutes, yeah.
It's going to be really fucking hard. Well, if it's 120 minute runtime, then you could basically fit in the full 12-episode anime, but that's just me thinking that. But actually, is that true? No, you couldn't. You can fit like 10 episodes, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's 10-ish, yeah. Assuming you're not, you'd obviously be taking out the time for the OPs and the EDs, yes.
Well, actually, no. If they run 20 minutes and you'd only fit 6, so yeah. So even with 120 minutes, you're still only given half the runtime of a 12-season anime. 12-episode season of anime.
12-season anime. Jesus Christ, you're gonna
Black
bankrupt
Clover.
the studio.
No, a 12-season anime. It's Black Clover, dude. It's on its like 5th season, isn't it?
Nah.
I don't know. One Piece is like on its 90th season.
But I judge it differently because I give it more leeway. Because it's like, well, you don't have too much time to explain it. So as long as the theatrical release of the live action makes me like it, then it's fine. Like, it doesn't matter how true to the source the movie is, because movies are fundamentally different from animes because of the runtime, because there's so much you need to cut out. Like, you can't judge them the same. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm. Now, I definitely agree, because traditionally, especially with Hollywood adaptations of things like this, the trend has been to make it a movie, see if it sells, and then maybe that movie might get a sequel. That really hasn't happened yet. But now we have these, like Netflix is doing the live action Cowboy Bebop series. I'm really curious to see how that goes. Like, I'm very much reserving judgment for it. I know there's a lot of people hating on it, but I'm reserving judgment until I see it. I definitely think they did good with the casting. The characters more or less look a lot like the characters from the anime, so I'm hoping they do good. I know that Yoko Kanno is actually doing the music for the live action series as well.
Oh my god, are you telling me we're gonna hear Greenbird?
Very possibly.
Oh man.
I mean, hell, we may even get a live action version of the Tank OP.
Oh my god, that'd be so cool. If they keep to it like that, then I'll fucking watch it. But as far as I'm concerned, like, a bunch of Netflix's original adaptations, you can't see my air quotes, why am I doing that, they're just trash. Like, I just watched the Monster Hunter fucking Monster Hunter World Legacies or whatever, the story before like Monster Hunter happens, it's fucking crap. Like, not only is it CG, but like it's originally made for English, so it's dubbed originally in English, and the mouth movements are so horrendous. Like,
Oh no.
So there was no like attempt at all to change it.
well, no, it's originally made for English, so, and they try to over exaggerate the mouth movements, so it looks really fucking weird. And then
Damn.
like fucking Dante Bosco is in there too, and I'm just like, oh man, poor Zuko, poor Jake, the American Chinese dragon.
I mean, another movie that you could point to recently as well is the Death Note movie from Netflix. Do we even want to go there?
Trash. Throw it out.
I kind of liked Willem Dafoe.
Oh no, that's the one thing from that movie I will 100% defend, as Willem Dafoe's portrayal of Ryuk is spot on.
But the guy that they got to play L, it felt like I was watching Caleb City from YouTube/Vine. Like his comedy sketches. It felt like it was him fucking voice acting L. It was so funny.
See, for that though, I genuinely think that they should have gone with a series for that, because I don't think you can condense the essence of Death Note into like something that's 90 to 120 minutes long.
You really can't. I don't know why they even tried. Like, for a lot of adaptations of anime into one movie, like, I don't know, I don't even know why you bother, because most of the time you can't fit it in, so what's the point? It's gonna be trash. I don't know why you're trying.
Yeah, like, if they had set it up where it was like gonna be like 4 or 5 different movies and had like a series of movies, then yeah, that could have worked. That definitely seems like what oh god, what's his name? James Cameron has done for his Alita Battle Angel movie. Like, that ends on a cliffhanger, so obviously it's designed to have sequels. So, and he wants to do more movies, and it seemed like it did well enough. It made its money back in the box office, so it seems like it did well enough that it might actually get one. So, I mean, yeah, you can do these adaptations as movies, but you can't. I don't think you can do it as one movie. It has to be like a series of movies.
Well, I don't have time for a series of movies. Either one TV show or one movie. I don't have time for this.
So, see, just specifically for the Death Note live action, like, there's that valley of like enjoyment level, right? It's like a kind of a parabola where like it's so awful that it's good, versus like it's actually just awful to being actually good. That's how I feel. Like, I think the live action Death Note was just so bad that it's funny to me. Like, again, the hammed acting with the guy who seems like he's fucking Caleb City. That's where he got his inspiration to pretend like he's L. Willem Dafoe as Ryuk was hilarious. I don't know who the fucking Zac Efron wannabe playing
Light.
Like,
Girl, I just felt bad.
It's so bad that it's good. It's hilarious.
I just felt bad for anyone who watches this and hasn't seen the original. I just feel so bad for them.
Yeah, me too. Because like Death Note is a classic, and it's a classic for a reason. I do think that people like pissed all over the hammed up acting in that more so than they should have, because if you go back and watch Death Note, there's some fucking hammy ass voice acting in that.
Yeah, I know, and that's what makes it great.
So as much as I don't want to talk about it, there are definitely like cultural differences in like Western adaptations, and I think it's fine. Like, it's fine to localize, it's fine to change the context, and personally, I don't really care what race plays what character. Like, I don't really care.
I know that was something that came up when in Japan they did the live action version of Attack on Titan, and they tried to explain in the movie why everyone is Asian.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a big deal. It's like, whatever. Although, we've talked about this. But race is more like an inherent part of the Attack on Titan story. So there's like some stuff you have to sort out there, but...
Yeah.
There was like literally a plot point about this.
I don't know. There was this. We don't have to talk about those yet, but
no, I get what you're saying though. Like, yeah, obviously, if you're adapting it in a completely different culture, like obviously American culture is very different than Japanese culture. It's shocking to know, but it's true. Yeah, I don't have necessarily a problem with things changing. I know that when they've announced there's no like release date or anything for it yet, but they have announced it. There's here in Hollywood, a Hollywood adaptation of Your Name. I forget who all is attached to it. But they have announced already that they're going to be changing elements of the story that's going to be taking place in the US. It's going to be, you know, American characters. And like, I'm okay with that as a concept as long as you keep the essence of the story the same. That's the important part. Like, you know, all this ancillary stuff with that, what the characters look like and stuff like that I can work with that. As long as the essence of the story is the same, that's what matters to me.
As long as they still have the yaoi baiting, then that's all we need.
Not this. But
no.
yeah, like for live action Western adaptations, I don't really give a fuck about the story. If you're faithful to the story, don't even try. Like, if you try, you're gonna make shit. So just make your own version of it and make it work for you, because it's not gonna work out if you try to be faithful.
See, as much as I would love to agree with you on that, the problem is that toxic fans won't think the same thing. They'll look at it and say, this isn't exactly like it was in the anime. It's shit. I mean, that's what people said about.
It'll never be exactly like it.
But that's what people said about the Ghost in the Shell live action with Scarlett Johansson, right? Like,
yes.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly like Ghost in the Shell, but I definitely think one thing they got right about that was the essence of what Ghost in the Shell was. I definitely think they got right. I think that Scarlett Johansson actually did play the Major pretty well, but people just shit on it because it wasn't exactly like the Ghost in the Shell movie from 1995.
No. So I shit on ScarJo because her acting is horrendous, and she plays the exact same fucking Black Widow, Lucy / I don't know any other fucking movie she's been in, to be honest. I can't name it, but when she acts like a military trained badass, she plays the same fucking character, and I will not back down from this. Like, hate me all you want, ScarJo, you can't act for shit.
Wow. Well, at the very least, she looked like the Major.
Yeah, but then they go and they explain why she doesn't look Asian.
They don't. They did.
Why?
Yeah, that's the. They did. They didn't even need to do that.
Why did they do that? I hated it
because it's pretty much canon in Ghost in the Shell that people can pretty much. Well, people like her especially can change bodies at will.
It was like they did that too for. There was another Netflix movie that's not an anime, but it was a graphic novel. But they did the same thing where they had a white person basically. A British actor playing this person who's supposed to be Asian, and they spent like a whole fucking 15 minutes explaining why. And I'm just like, I don't care. Like, who cares? Stop making it a big deal. You made your choice. Just fucking roll with it.
They did that. This has nothing to do with anime, but they did the exact same thing in one of the new Star Trek movies, Star Trek Into Darkness, where they had Benedict Cumberbatch play Khan, who's supposed to be like this Sikh, a northern Indian man, played by one of the whitest men on the planet.
Yeah, I hate this. I hate Hollywood.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, when you do the live action adaptations in another culture, any kind of adaptation in another culture, yeah, obviously there's going to be different cultural stuff that you're going to put in it to make it more relatable to people in that culture. Because first and foremost, that's who you're marketing to. But I definitely think that anime fans are, at least in my opinion, I think that a lot of anime fans are way too harsh with some of the like Hollywood anime adaptations that we've got. In some cases, I think they've been just harsh enough. And like John says, like, people shit all over the Death Note movie, but I still enjoyed it because it's one of those things where it's so bad that it's good.
I want to wipe it from my mind.
But my problem with live action, like, so we may not have a lot of anime, manga, light novel, live action adaptations coming to the West, like made in the West, but we do have a bunch of like Asian movies that get remade in the West, right? And
yes.
Some of them can be good. Like what's that one that won that fucking all those awards? It was a Korean show.
Snowpiercer?
Not Snowpiercer. Well, that one was one.
Parasite?
No, not Parasite.
That wasn't
no, it's
You're talking about a show or a movie?
No, a movie. It's a movie. I can't remember. Oh my god, I'm gonna remember this right when we stop recording, and
you're gonna be so pissed.
But it's a movie that it's a crime movie about like dirty cops.
Old Boy?
No, not Old Boy. Oh my god, it's originally it's originally a Korean movie. Just like there's a bunch of like that, like The Lake House. That was a Korean movie. I watched the original Korean one before I watched it. Korean, Japanese, don't remember. it's been a long time since I've seen the original Lake House, but I saw the Asian one first, and then I saw the Keanu Reeves one, and I was just like, oh, that's kind of weird. But we also like The Grudge, Asian movie remade. The Ring, same thing, Asian movie remade. One Last Call, Japanese horror movie remade in American. We have a lot of those, and there's a lot of examples of where they deviate from the original, and it's because there's a lot of like jokes that you don't get because of in the native language, like this is what it means. Like one of them would be Shutter, not Shutter Island, but Shutter. It's a Thai horror film, and a lot of the things being translated over from Thai to English don't make sense because you don't have the same customs. Yeah. So they've got to have that type of liberty when they want to release it, but staying true to the source of the material is really hard. So that I agree, like you shouldn't be too critical of it because it's a different fan base. Like you can like the original still exists. I love the original Grudge series, like the guy who makes that stuff. I love the Japanese horror where it's like there's no fucking violins leading up to scary jump scares. It's just like creepy shit happening in the background constantly. I love that because every time I rewatch it, there's something else I notice that I missed. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, oh man, I love it when you're looking at a different part of the screen and something happens that you didn't notice before. You're like, oh, what the fuck? It's good shit. I like horror films.
Yeah, I mean, and one it's not really an anime adaptation. It's actually a light novel adaptation, I think, or just a novel adaptation that Hollywood did that never gets talked about a lot when people talk about stuff like this. That is actually really good, and a lot of other people think it's really good too. And that's Edge of Tomorrow.
Yep,
which is an adaptation of All You Need Is Kill, and like that was really good, and no one ever talks about it. I mean, I know, and they changed stuff in there, like, because Tom Cruise plays the main character, and in the original source material, like, the main character is supposed to be a teenager. Well, Tom Cruise is obviously not a teenager.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know that it was based on a Japanese graphic novel, and I like the Edge of Tomorrow. I really enjoyed it, actually. I liked the concept and stuff, and I thought it was executed pretty well. And a lot of people don't talk about it, you're right, because again, we only talk about the things that we think are bad, where it's like it's popular. You know, All You Need Is Kill isn't that popular. Not as popular as like something like, I don't know, Tokyo Ghoul. Tokyo Ghoul is a lot more popular. Fucking Rurouni Kenshin's a lot more popular.
But yeah, I definitely think that's an example of one that was done really, really well, and they definitely changed things, but it was fine. Anyway, I definitely think this is we've ranted about this long enough, I think.
This is why I don't want to talk about it, because there's so much to say.
I know.
That makes no sense.
It's too much to talk about.
Oh my god.
It's too damn high.
All right, now it's time to bust out my dissertation.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I mean, this is why I wanted to talk about it, because I definitely think this is an area where there's definitely a lot of debate within the anime community as to what's the best to do when you adapt anime for different media. But I definitely think we're going to end it there. Thank you all for dropping. Let me try that again. Thank you all out there for dropping in to listen to us. Check the description below to find links to Anime Club After Dark on Twitch, on social media, and on Discord. Check out our merch store and our affiliate links as well. Any purchases you make there do really help us out. With that, I have been your host, Alex, and I will see you next time. Say goodnight, guys.
Good night.
That's whitewashing, and don't you dare cast my Asian heroine as a white woman.
Just like fucking even
Joe, this is why we can't
Avatar,
have nice things.
Fucking Avatar, the last Airbenders adaptation, Hollywood adaptation, was so bad, and they didn't cast Asian people either, and they could have. Oh god,
It's the whites for me.